We have a little more for your ears only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Melissa Exelberth with a quote from the news. They shouldn't trust me. That was British comic Ricky Gervais on being asked to host the next Golden Globes Awards on TV, despite much controversy over his outrageous insults last time around, which he promised to top. Now this.
For the past year, he's been virtually incarcerated in this country. He's undergone all of this for the obvious reason that he didn't have the courage to fight such as Joe Frazier, Jerry Quarry, and Jimmy Ellis.
Why would you say that? I didn't have the courage to fight Joe Frazier and Jimmy Ellis and Jerry Quarry. I mean, why would you say that? I mean, you know, I've never showed no fear of nobody.
The fact of the matter is, the thing you've missed most over the past year were the steady vocal sparring sessions that we enjoyed on Wide World of Sports.
Well, we had a lot of fun.
Yes, we have to say it. Remember, this is just a football game, no matter who wins or loses. An unspeakable tragedy confirmed to us by ABC News in New York City. John Lennon, outside of his apartment building on the west side of New York City, the most famous perhaps of all of the Beatles, shot twice in the back, rushed to Roosevelt Hospital, dead on arrival.
In Hugh Hefner, we have the honor tonight to be honoring, to be roasting the biggest nothing I have ever known.
If you're too young for that voice to stir memories of excitement or heartburn, take it from me. In its time, it did both. Howard COSELL was a Jewish lawyer from Brooklyn who became a sportscaster bigger than almost all the contests and contestants he covered. Joking aside, he championed the equally dramatic transformation of boxer Cassius Clay into champion Muhammad Ali, inaugurated Monday Night Football, brought mid-game news of John Lennon's murder, and was an off-knocked celebrity chosen to roast sex pioneer Hugh Hefner, creator of Playboy, among many other milestones.
Bombastic, pedantic, verbose, and self-promotional, COSELL was also insecure, sometimes paranoid, often alcoholic. But he helped transform network TV sports coverage and public attitudes about the increasingly corporate, money-conscious world of sports itself. All that and more is detailed in a massive new biography, Howard COSELL, the man, the myth, and the transformation of American sports from W.W. Norton. The author is Mark Ribowsky, and he's on the line with us now for Your Ears Only. Welcome to our program.
Thanks for having me.
What led young lawyer COSELL into broadcasting and sports? What were his first jobs?
His first job, believe it or not, was hosting a kiddie show, which actually in his hands was anything but a kiddie show. It was called All League Clubhouse. It was on the ABC radio network about 1955. And Howard got the job because his brother-in-law was able to finance the show. ABC didn't want to finance the show. At the time, he was a lawyer, and a very successful lawyer, with a downtown Manhattan law firm. He was a labor lawyer. He had been an editor of the NYU Law Review when he was getting his degree in 4 years and became one of the youngest lawyers to ever be a partner in New York. But he always had this gnawing obsession to be a sportscaster. I guess out of the desire to have his voice heard by as many people as he could, and combining his love of sports as a child, as a Brooklyn Dodger fan.
He had
He always had this impossible dream, and it was even more impossible given the conditions of the era, which included institutional anti-Semitism in the broadcast industry. Yet he was just so indefatigable about it, never stopped clawing his way up the company ladder until all the pieces started falling into place.
He had a Brooklyn accent, as we heard, a grating manner, a bad haircut, or a worse toupee. So what was the secret of his success as a broadcaster?
I think all of the above. I mean, the fact that he was just so grating and just so different, broke the mold in so many ways, wasn't quite ready in the 50s to become a cultural icon. I think the forces of change were not quite blowing across the land as they did in the 60s when heroes could be anti-heroic and strange new kinds of icons. And he just kept clawing his way up the ladder, even though basically everyone on the corporate level at ABC wanted nothing to do with him. They thought he didn't sound like a broadcaster. They didn't look like a broadcaster. He was too old, too Jewish, too New York. But the turning point for Howard came when ABC employed Roone Arledge as the first president of the sports division. Arledge saw in COSELL something completely different, and the only way he was going to make ABC a player in the network wars was to do something different, because ABC had no major league sports. It had to go to a different level, a personal level, attracting non-traditional sports fans. And, of course, all that would later come together with Monday Night Football, when it was almost a mad laboratory for cultural change.
Well, tell us what NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle said when Arledge proposed COSELL for Monday Night Football.
He was just as stunned as everyone else, but he wasn't as opposed to it as Frank Gifford was. Gifford was the first choice to be in that booth when Monday Night Football came about, but he was still under contract to CBS. But Roone Arledge consulted him, extraordinarily so, consulted him about who he wanted to hire, and when he mentioned COSELL, Gifford's response was, "You're kidding, right?" Because Gifford had known COSELL back into the 50s. They at one time were very close when COSELL hosted a lot of parties in his Manhattan apartment, and Gifford was always there making the scene. But when Rozelle was told, he couldn't do anything about it, because that was ABC's decision. That was made clear when they signed the contract and gave their money to the NFL for Monday Night Football. COSELL had to be in that booth. There was no other choice. If ABC was going to be a player on a national stage in Major League sports, COSELL was going to be a part of it. And Rozelle, before long, came around and was quite happy with it, obviously, given the ratings.
Mark Ribowsky's new biography is Howard Cosell, the man, the myth, and the transformation of American sports, from W.W. Norton. And this has been For Your Ears Only.